Okay, thanks for that introduction there. So, yeah, I'm going to be talking about Swift Playgrounds, the app on the iPad. So, can I start with just a show of hands? Can you raise your hand if you've had a chance to use the iPad's version of Swift Playgrounds yet? Okay, so yeah, a handful of you so far, I guess. So you might have, I'm sure you've seen the videos of it being introduced at WWDC, and I guess so far it's been presented as an educational tool, and obviously it does, represent a great opportunity in that respect. But what I wanted to talk about today is why we might be interested in it as developers. So if I have time at the end, I might get on to talk about the new Playgrounds book package format, so authoring content for Playgrounds. But to be honest, what I'm mainly interested in is just the standalone in-app experience, just exploring what Playgrounds on iPad is like as a kind of coding and environment, just writing code from scratch from a sort of blank page, kind of similar to how Playgrounds works in Xcode. And I guess the questions I'm asking is, what kind of coding environment does the iPad represent, and why might you want to code on an iPad? And I guess what I'd like to suggest is that, if you're designing an app, you're designing some kind of user experience, that there's something to be said for doing at least part of that design on the platform that app will eventually run on, particularly if you're in a stage where you're sort of iterating very quickly, and so anything that kind of cuts down on that time, that lets you sort of tweak things and work quickly, that can really help. I'm not, obviously, don't get me wrong, I'm not at all suggesting that it's time to kind of cut the cord. There's obviously all kinds of things. The quote at WWDC was that Playgrounds on iPad puts the entire iOS SDK at your fingertips. But of course, there's going to be some actions that just don't make sense outside of the context of an app. Okay. So, so there's a GitHub repo. The repo is here, and most of it also works in Xcode 8 beta Playgrounds as well. With some, obviously, multi-touch isn't going to work. Okay, so perhaps the first thing just to mention is, and I kind of missed this actually. This didn't really sort of. I thought I'd. Yeah. How do I turn? I thought I turned off. Anyway, when Xcode 7.3 shipped earlier this year, is that Playgrounds became interactive, so they could. They got this live view property, and you can set it to any UI view, any UI view controller, or any subclass thereof, and your Playground, your code can accept user input, gesture recognizers or whatever that may be. So that started, that shipped with Xcode 7.3. So that really, I think, changes the scope of what a Playground can be. So you might have this image of a Playground being quite sort of linear in its structure, not really having much in the way of control flow. Whereas if it can respond to what the user is doing, then it you can effectively write a form of app. Okay, so just an example of a simple drawing app. Now, normally, I need some version control, don't I? I can answer that at the end, actually. So you can see I've got lots of sort of versions of this. So normally when the Playground runs, you get so this is my sort of simple drawing app. So you can see, if you're not sure, if you have not seen the sort of live view before, so you import is that readable, the code on the left? So you import playground support, and then just set any UI view or UI view controller to the playground page's current page. So here I've got a subclass of UI view controller, and I'm just intercepting the touches began, touches moved and ended. So you can see as I doodle, so you can see there that the touches began function sort of iterates once, and the touches moved is sort of moving quite a lot. And because it's a playground, you can add an object viewer. So the way this one is working is, I have a Bezier curve, and as I lift my finger up, it sort of caches it to the image. Now you may have noticed there's this sort of border, this kind of blurry border going around the outside. It's just the standard, the sort of standard thing that happens with these blank playgrounds. In a second, I'll show you how to get rid of that. It's a little bit involved, but here's just to give us a bit more room to draw with. So this is the version which has the edge-to-edge live view. Okay, so what I've done here is, if you look at the live view, is I've wrapped my view controller inside a navigation controller to give me the nav bar, so we've got a share pane up in the top there, and what I wanted, so this is not just a mock-up. This share pane is live and kind of functional. I can see that there's lots of you with who have this discoverability switched on. So I presumed I could send this image to Nick's big iPhone, but instead I'll do some live tweeting. Say tweeting from an iPad playground. So send a tweet. So it's like an actual sort of app. Live tweeting at Swift London from an iPad. Let's do a hashtag for Swift playground. Okay, so no live coding, but some live tweeting. You can tell me if that's worked. Now, one of the things which I quite like about the interface, and one thing which sort of strikes me as a good sort of use case, that the kind of thing that you might want to do with a playground, is that you've got this. So clearly it's because I've got the do not disturb is on. So this, I don't know if this is an Xcode Beta 4 bug or something, but anyway. So even on an iPad Air 1, which doesn't have the split screen multitasking, you've got this sort of it resembles the 50/50 multitasking view. So that's a good opportunity to try out some responsive programmatic interface design. So this is an app for exploring the new types of noise that come with Gameplay Kit. So we've got our billow noise, which is that's like your sort of flaming electricity. We've got our ridge noise, which is like our sort of bubbling lava. So I've got all these controllers. I've got these 4 sliders here, so I can increase the frequency. Let's reduce the octaves, and that kind of thing, and create sort of different effects. So I can sort of experiment with find out what looks good. But I want these sliders to sort of dynamically resize. So they're inside the UI stack view, and so if I slide it into the full screen, then they're now I've sort of flipped the axis, and so now the four sliders are sort of horizontally laid out instead of in this sort of 4x4 block. And I mean, there's tutorials, a lot of documentation online on using sort of stack view. So that's that's the kind of use case of the sort of layout that you can experiment with in a playground. Okay, have I got a few more minutes? So just in terms of how to get rid of the border there and the playground book format, there's not much documentation on the playground book format yet. So by far the easiest way is you can actually share all of the Apple built-in or the playgrounds which are currently in the store. I don't know if that will always be the case, if that's just a kind of beta feature. So if I share, for example, if I share the shapes template, so you could airdrop it to Nick's big iPhone, but I'm going to send it to a great app, an app called Working Copy, which is a full iOS Git client, and it handles zip files very well. So I can import it as its own repo, or I can save it as a playground directory. I'm going to do that. So because I've got a repo here which has lots of playgrounds here, so I'm going to just hit save as. There's the shapes playground book. There it is. So, and this is Working Copy. So just to give you an idea of, so basically the Playgrounds book package format, we don't have like a proper authoring tool for it yet. Gosh, it's really deep, isn't it? So, for example, the Noise Explorer edge to edge I just showed you. So yeah, the contents, chapters, pages, page 1. So the manifest property list, it's very small if you can see that, but the last key there, the live view edge to edge true, that's, you just sort of set that key, and that's how you kind of get that sort of borderless view. So yeah, and this is the Working Copy is a nice way to sort of to get some version control. So that's how I've been sort of updating those repositories. Okay, so I think that's probably all the time I have. All right, thank you very much for listening, and yeah, any questions?
Cheers, Oliver.